that brings us to number 6, which is Steven Seagal's first film, Above the Law.
Starring Donald Trump.
And Charles Sheen.
No, I'm kidding. I kid. Joe Biden could be that way too. I don't fucking know.
Nico. Yeah, dude, it's Steven Seagal's first film. It's crazy because it's basically the story of his life. When you watch the opening of this film, he explains how he went to Japan, all this crazy shit. He's a cop.
He went to Japan on the internet. He didn't really go to Japan.
It's straight up, I mean, it's his first movie, man. It's the first time he's ever on screen, and he's the star of it. But that just shows you the star power of Steven Seagal. He was lanky as shit in that movie, man.
He looked good, though.
He whooped some fucking ass in that movie, dude, too. He really showed his
And you know what? I feel like... I don't know what nationality Steven Seagal is, but I feel like he is maybe Italian. Because he worked that out. Like that Nico shit, like the way that he was doing. I'm like, man, I think you really are Italian. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like some people will be mad this movie's not higher on the list. It is a really, really good movie. But for me, the Above the Law, as good as movies as they all are, for the Steven Seagal films, Above the Law, Out for Justice, and Hard to Kill, Marked for Death, they all kind of tend to run together a little bit for me in my brain. So I feel like even though he was full on Steven Seagal from the get, and you got to give him credit for that, man. He was like a rookie quarterback that comes in and just fucking slays. You know what I mean? He's Justin Herbert in that bitch. But Love Above the Law, it's a great movie. It's one of Steven Seagal's best films. Again, I think a lot of people want it to be higher, but
it's still good. It's still above a top 10.
And by the way, dude, if you look at IMDb, Steven Seagal's IMDb, apparently Above the Law 2...
Does it say he created a tree that he could only break?
He created space and time.
Oh.
But if you look at his IMDb, in production, it says that Above the Law 2 is happening.
I'm not watching that.
I hope to God it does.
Actually, you know what? I do want to watch that. Go ahead and make that. I want to watch that. You know what we should do? If that actually does happen, we should do a live commentary for it. The day that it's released.
I just feel like it'll be depressing. Dude.
It probably will be. I mean, he's gonna come out of the car eating a carrot and some cabbage, and he's not even like have to. He's gonna like. It's gonna be one of those scenes where he punches, and then the camera will edit, and it'll show. I go. Oh.
That brings us to number 5, which is Out for Justice.
Yeah.
Dude, Out for Justice, fucking amazing movie. It has, I think, maybe possibly the meanest bad guy of the Seagal filmography in William Forsythe. This is the one where he really does the Italian dude. He's wearing a cop uniform, and it's a sleeveless cop uniform, and he's got like a beret, and somebody kills his friend, and then, but what makes that movie is how badass of a villain William Forsythe Richie is. That one classic scene where he shows up and it's like, anybody seen Richie? Richie is such a mean fucking, like he just walks up to a chick in traffic and just blows her fucking brains out right there. And this is the most...
Was it Russell Crowe?
Unhinged. It's one of the most, it's the most mafia film that Steven Seagal was ever involved in. So that brings us to number 4. We get in that top 5 now. Number 4, we did, if you guys want to go and YouTube Revenge of the Action movie Hard to Kill. Hard to Kill is our number 4. We did a deep, in-depth breakdown of this movie.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
This is the one where...
it's so rapey.
Hey, you watching the Oscars? You watching the Oscars?
It's so rapey.
The Oscars are going on. He goes home to his wife. These bad guys come in. They shoot up his wife. They kill his whole family. Or they kill his wife. They don't kill his whole family. They kill her. They think they've killed him. He goes into hiding. He grows a gigantic beard. It's
looking good though.
It's Seagal's Rocky, man. Hard to Kill is Seagal's Rocky because you barely ever see him be vulnerable, and you get to see him be vulnerable in this movie, man, because he has to come back from the brink of death. And she takes him out to his wife, Kelly LeBrock, by the way. He ended up marrying her because that's just what people do. She takes him out to this place that ironically...
I mean, I would too. She's like that.
I like that, yeah.
Like that.
She has a dojo at this place that she's housing at. That's the one where he puts the plank in the ground and he's like,
he also puts the acupuncture thing and he lights him on fire and he's like, oh. Let me tell you, this is so over the top weird. And they really are pulling from 100 different sources to make this thing happen with him. But I fucking dug it, man.
I love it.
I remember as a kid watching this one and one other one that we'll get to over and over again because I thought it was so fucking good. I just love the idea that it was a man.
Storm.
I loved it was a man at a time. And he didn't, it was years after, and you were in a coma, and I was like, I was like, what if I was like that? And I was like, how would you react? Like, I mean, you'd be like out for revenge, and that was the blood bank thing.
Yeah, that's the one where I'm gonna take you to the bank, Senator Trent. The blood bank.
And Senator Trent, by the way, goes, I unboxed science.
Yeah, William Sadler's
I love William Sadler. He's like, I unboxed science.
The only knock to Hard to Kill is that, again, he didn't have a formidable opponent at the end of fight. It was just this wimpy ass senator, kind of like what happened.
But I did like, I liked his mentor. I thought he was great.
his buddy?
His buddy, yeah. Well, it's not his mentor, but he was older than him. He had taken care of his son. I like that guy a lot.
It's just the kind of guy that would go out with Dr. Chalice and buy a hot dog.
He looks like the kind of fucking dude that would be in like Ladybugs if Rodney Dangerfield weren't in it.
I can totally see that shit, man. But yeah, Hard to Kill, one of the best, man. I would have no qualms with sticking you. No, I would have no qualms with Hard to Kill being number one. I love that movie so fucking much, man. All right, so that brings us to number 3. Now, Jay and I fought about this one here, right here. This is a hard side. One of our favorites, man, and I think people are going to be a little butthurt about this, Steven Seagal aficionados, but number 3, The Glimmer, man. Underrated, dude.
And I mean, it didn't just have Keenen Ivory as his partner. It kind of reminded me a lot of like a kung fu Lethal Weapon kind of thing going on. It also had a great bad guy. I can't remember the dude's name.
Brian Cox.
Brian Cox. Yeah. Great bad guy too. The backstory, man, like it almost felt like a beta version of John Wick. Because the way that they referred and referenced Steven Seagal as the Glimmer Man almost felt like the way that they revered John Wick as the Baba Yaga. Like, it was kind of like that too. And there was this mystique and mystery around Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal was pretty much playing the same role he's always played. But what offset that was the Keenen Ivory Wayans relationship, which added a different element to it. And I'm like, you know what? Honestly, if they had made more movies of a buddy cop kind of situation with Steven Seagal playing the straight man and having like an offset comedy guy, like imagine
made him more human.
Yeah, imagine him having a Jim Carrey partner also after Keenen Ivory or something like that. Man, I think that he might have had a different kind of career, but it's a fucking great movie, man.
Yeah, Seagal had partners in his films over time, but they were always guys who he would slap around and like they would end up dying early or something like that. But Keenen Ivory was really, really great for that movie, and Steven Seagal shows up, and it literally is Lethal Weapon, dude. Like, he shows up, I don't want to work with anyone. I work alone.
I love it.
But, and it's kind of cool because they introduce a serial killer element into there where they haven't really done that with a Seagal film before. It was almost horror-esque, and the serial killer kills his ex-wife. He frames him for it. The killer was doing some fucked up shit with those bodies. And then you of course, I honestly wish they would have went hardcore into the serial killer.
Yeah, dude, I think
instead of doing the business corporate aspect.
If they had interwoven more of a Seven kind of feel to it, I think it would have been an instant classic, man. Maybe number 1.
Yeah, but still, it's a great fucking movie, man. Again, if you've slept on Glimmer Man and you're a Steven Seagal fan, watch that shit.
First off, if they slept on Glimmer Man, there'd be a glimmer. And then you'd be dead.
My favorite part of that entire movie is when Brian Cox is waving his big ass in that pool and he's like, "Come on in, the water's fine."
Yeah, I was like, I felt like the other guy was like, "I ain't gay." He felt like he was gonna say that.
And then Steven Seagal, like, he has those moments because he's weird and he's with his beads and shit like that, and he's a Buddhist. But I love the scene where he goes in and he's like, "Why don't you take a little bit of this to help you with the headaches," or whatever it was. He's like, "That's good, man. What is that shit?" He's like, "Dip piss."
I like when he sat down with Brian Cox at the restaurant. He was like eating. He was like, and then he gets up and kicks all his fucking bodyguards' asses, and then he sits back down. He's like. It's so good, man.
The restaurant scene, man, there is some fucking awesome action in that one scene alone. The restaurant scene was a badass fucking scene. Glimmer Man's dope as shit.
It's really good.
Definitely check it out. And it's an outlier with the way his other movies go, for sure. All right, we're getting high up in this shit now. Number 2. What's going to be number 1? What's going to be number 2?
I think people already figured it out.
Number 2 is going to be Marked for Death.
I love that movie,
Your blood clot!
Like I mentioned earlier, that movie is one of the 2 that I've watched over and over again. Marked for Death. I love that. I love the mysticism of it. I love the voodoo aspect to it. I love like this weird goddamn cult mentality. Like, it's weird. It's strange. It's out there. It's outer limits kind of a situation. And Seagal is dropped right in the middle of it. And he's like, "Hey, I don't need any of this shit." And he breaks people's fucking arms for a living. Like, dude, by the way, it's got some of the most graphic violence from Steven Seagal I've ever seen. Like, he really fucks these fuckers up hardcore. And I'm like, God damn, it's good.
Yeah, dude. It's a crazy ass storyline because he retires like from the CIA. I think it was the CIA. I'm gonna confuse. He's special ops, some shit like that. But he retires from it because he's like, "You and I both know that nothing we've done has ever mattered to shit." He quits because his partner gets killed. And he tries to go back home and get some peace. But you also got Keith Davis in this movie.
I love Keith Davis.
Keith David or Keith Davis?
Keith David.
Okay, from They Live. From They Live.
Yeah,
in this movie.
He's great, man. I love their relationship.
Yeah, he's awesome. And the guy's just a football coach, but he goes on this crusade with him because there's this Jamaican drug trade in there. And I do like that they point out in the movie, by the way, they're like, it's only 1% of the Jamaicans that have come over that are doing this, but they're fucking hardcore drug dealers and they're scary as shit. And it's got one of the maybe the most scary bad guy in the entire Steven Seagal filmography. That dude is scary as fuck. And remember how there's like two of them running around and it ends up being twins?
I always remember the pool scene was like, it goes, I watch you with an eye for an eye, an eye for an eye.
I was like, what the fuck is going on right now?
There's two of them!
Shit was scary,
what
man.
the fuck Goosebumps episode is this, sir?
And just like you said, dude, maybe the most violent and mean fucking
Dude, do you remember that part with that Jamaican, and he fucking does something to Seagal, and he takes his arm and goes, "Kunk." Like he breaks it down like he's crushing a fucking soda can.
Yeah,
and you see his arm go gunk, gunk. I'm like, woo.
And they actually go to Jamaica to find Screwface, which is fucking nuts. And that one of my favorite scenes from that movie, by the way, is when they have to go in, because I love this in action movies, when they have to go and either acquire their own weapons or they go into a room full of weapons and they go shopping for weapons. And this one, they made their own fucking weapons. They had that badass scene where he's wearing those yellow sunglasses and they're making their own bullets and shit. Fuck, I love that movie.
Yeah, man, it's a classic movie. I don't know how you cannot like be a Steven Seagal film or fan of his films and not put Mark for Death with respect on it and put it this. I mean, it's our opinion, but it's got to be up there, man. It's got to be in your top 5.
It's got a great reggae soundtrack to it too, man. That soundtrack is dope as fuck.
Makes me want to wear a beanie and smoke weed.
Number 1. The Quince of Ocho, you got to know what it is by now. Imagine, we all know it's exit wounds. It's absolutely exit.
I mean, how do you not get behind DMX?
No doubt about it. Or Against the Dark, or maybe Sniper 9, Ops Commander 7.
That wasn't DMX in Exit Wounds.
No, it was DMX. I actually liked DMX in that movie too. I
thought Exit Wounds was a decent okay, but number 1.
It's Under Siege. It's Under Siege.
Yeah.
Fucking Tommy Lee Jones, Gary Busey as the bad guys in that movie. Dude, Tommy Lee Jones, like, imagine like Seagal being such a star that he's the leader of the movie and Tommy Lee Jones is second billing to fucking Steven Seagal. That's where we were in Steven Seagal's career.
Yeah.
And Tommy Lee Jones was a badass villain too.
And Tommy Lee Jones is also an asshole. He hates Jim Carrey. But that movie, I think, solidified Seagal as a bona fide action hero. Man.
Die Hard on a boat, man. It was Die Hard on a carrier, on a warship, man. Again, one of the things I've said about many of his movies is his bad guy's never formidable enough. He never has a big enough bad guy to like really fight and get any good ass kicking with. But with this, he's dealing with a bunch of mercenaries. He's dealing with a bunch of soldiers, and he's one man against 100 men, and he's really outgunned and outnumbered. He gets hurt a little bit. He gets fucked up a little bit. The movie's hilarious. It's funny. He's just a cook. As far as you know, he's just a cook. And again, one of Steve Seagal's best traits is that he can chameleon his way in as a little cupcake nobody, and then all of a sudden you find out he's a fucking badass Navy SEAL.
Yeah, and he downplays it too, which is really, and you believe him. Like when that one, she's like, "You're a badass, right? You're awesome, right?" And he's like, "No, I'm just a lowly cook." Lowly.
Get my paws out of the oven. This is just his best film. Like overall movie, like acting, casting, direction. It's just a good movie from start. It's not just a good Seagal movie, which most of these are just good Seagal movies. Under Siege is a great action film, and it may be his only top to bottom great film all the way around in his whole filmography. And I'm not trying to shit on Seagal for that. I'm just saying like those movies had problems with him. This was a great movie from start to finish.
I feel like after Under Siege is when his head got super ballooned up, like hardcore ballooned. Like his attitude never changed at all from the way that he was when he was young. It just carried over and got bigger and bigger and more inflated. It sucks, man, because I love Seagal and I still love Seagal. I think Seagal, like if you mention action karate movies from the 80s to the 90s, you're going to mention Van Damme and you're going to mention Steven Seagal in the same breath.
Yeah.
And it sucks. But, you know, that he is what he is now. But Under Siege, man, like, you can't put that any lower than number 1. It really is number 1. It also has the fucking Hollywood Hogan comes out without being there. And
dude, violent as shit.
It really
is. He stabs Tommy Lee Jones through the fucking skull. He saws a guy's collarbone off in half. You
talk about a guy that oversells his ticket was Tommy Lee Jones in that movie.
Yeah,
he acted like a badass and he gets fucking killed in like 5 seconds when he takes on Seagal.
That was a good knife fight though. That was a really.
It was good for a second, but then it was like, yeah, Seagal's gonna fucking.
And one last thing I want to mention in these films is that Steven Seagal, I love his defiance of authority in all these films. In Fire Down Below, at one point when the sheriff shows up and he tries to enact some redneck justice on him. He's like, I don't care what happened. I know you beat up that guy in the mill. He's like, get in my car. And he's like, I don't recognize your authority.
Yeah.
Like that, and the way that he was talking to the higher-ups in Under Siege. Like, remember Gary Busey calls him a clown? He's like, I don't know why you put up with this clown. He's like, because he likes my cooking. You know, like, he was never an underdog like Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is what we all love about Jean-Claude Van Damme so much, but he always had a defiance of the higher-up authority, which I can really appreciate in his characters in his movies. And I think overall, like, Seagal had good intentions for his overall view of the world. Like, he wanted the environmental change, he wanted all this stuff like that, but on a person-to-person basis, when you hear people talk, you realize that he just wasn't good to people. That's what sucks.
I feel like Seagal was more of the uncle that you really hope that he doesn't talk a lot because he's going to say and share things that you don't want him to in the middle of a crowded room, and you're like, well, it's my uncle, and he's a blood belt Shidoshi.
Oh man, could you imagine if Steven Seagal was young at the height of his power in the middle of all the shit we're going on in the world right now? I'd be scared of what he'd say. I'd be scared to death of what he'd say.
I would also...
Maybe it'd be good though, I don't know.
I'd be following at his feet. Like, how come you caught you but not me?
But guys, that is our top 10, really in-depth top 10 Steven Seagal movies of all time. We hope that you guys enjoyed this. More action movie stuff to come on the channel, we promise. And again, if you want us to see us do some really deep dives into action movies like Commando, Hard to Kill, Bloodsport, check out Revenge of the Action Movie on YouTube. We're doing that stuff on the main channel now, but I think we've got some really good videos that I'm really proud of over there, so check those out.
Yeah, it's on the side. It's on the side. You go ahead and look at it. Look, if you're going to subscribe to the channel anyway, just go ahead and look at that Revenge of the Action Movie thing. It's real nice. Treat you real good.
You're going to touch it.
You're going to be alright.
You're going to stick your finger in it.
Don't you worry about it. $24.99 for one night. It's a good deal.
Blue Light Spaceship.
There it is.
Ooby-gooby.
What you guys waiting for?
Love your fucking face. If you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button and get some goddamn wham up in you.
Did they just cut our internet?